I'm Shellie Geigle with JNS Hobbies and Crafts, and I have a new tutorial for you featuring the Designs by Shellie MDF Stagecoach and Horse Kit. There are 3 different coaches you can choose from. There is the Western coach, which is a more plain, doesn't have all the scroll work on it. We have the Pumpkin Stagecoach, which is slightly larger. And then we have the Fancy Stagecoach and Horse Kit, and that's the one I'm going to be recreating in the tutorial. Now, it doesn't matter which kit you choose, they're all assembled the same. You can choose your own paper, your own embellishments, and the horses were just a little added thing to it. If you don't want to use it with the horses, then don't. One thing that I didn't do in this tutorial is attach reins and embellish the horses. Now that would be really cute. These are available. They are a new product release, and I made these after I did the Gypsy Wagon tutorial. I started thinking, you know, everyone's wanting kits. So I made these, and they're out of MDF, which is a pressed wood, and you just snap them together. So bonus time. If you are buying a Stagecoach kit, and whether or not you're going to take the tutorial, but you're going to be decorating it, send in your photos to Danielle at JS Hobbies and Crafts. In the DBS department, Danielle and Alex will be drawing 5 lucky names. And for this is the new Designs by Shellie MDF Deluxe Train Kit. It comes with the engine and 4 cars. The last car is the caboose. Now this is a fun thing to do. Last year I did the holiday train tutorial. I'll be doing another one this year. I'll be using the standard kit or possibly even the deluxe kit in the tutorial coming up. But this is a great holiday idea, especially if you've got the deluxe train kit. You can decorate the train and it will span out so large. You can put like little gift bags in the individual cars, tag with the name, whether it's children or your pets, for a little goodie gift. Okay, so how do you enter? All you have to do is complete the project, and you can use any paper that you want, embellish it any way you want. Email Danielle, and her email is at the bottom of the screen as well as in the description area under the video. Include your full name, your shipping address, the country of which you live. If you have a blog address, you can include that. If your name is drawn, we'll be posting pictures and a link to your blog if you have one. If you don't, the picture and your name along with your project and announced as one of the winners. So this is something I wanted to start doing, especially for those of you that are making these for gifts, for yourself, for selling them. It's a great way to show off what you're doing. One last thing before we get into the project overview for the Stagecoach. Els Schutz. She was our JNS Hobbies Designer of the Month for October, and you would not believe what she created. It's beautiful. She did a fairy stagecoach using the fancy, but also I saw pictures today of how she decorated her horses. I would have never thought of it. I love the idea. So if you are going to be doing some stagecoaches, check out the Facebook page for JNS Hobbies or our blog so you can see what she did with her horses. So let's get into the project overview on these Stagecoach kits.
So an overview is really easy and quick. I've decorated this with a Blue Fern Studios paper collection, memoirs, and I've added some handmade flowers. And you don't have to hand make your flowers at all. And the coaches do come with the wooden wheels, and they are motionless. They just kind of glue on there. And these are so much fun to make. It's kind of like the the caravan gypsy wagons I did. Everyone just really enjoyed those. Now you can go a step further and actually make little seats for inside, and I'll show you the pumpkin coach that I did with the Tranquil Gardens, where I did that, as well as the Western coach. Now for the horses, they were real basic and simple. However, adding the reins and attaching them to the coach would make it that much more special. The pumpkin coach is slightly larger, and they don't come with doors, so we make those, and they're made out of the paper that I used in the collection here. And inside I actually made some seats. And then I can put 3 little flameless tea light candles in there, step them up on the steps, and that was the idea behind this one. The Western Stagecoach is more basic, and I used the Designs by Shellie Steampunk Days paper collection, what I had left over. And you can even add little pearls for the handle. And inside there, this one I left the lid on. So when you have the lid on, you're more limited to what you can actually get into the coach. But I did add seats and put some lace on it, as you can see. So that concludes the overview. We are making this one, and of course if you are making any of the other ones, you'll follow right along because it's the same assembly and the same cutting techniques. We're heading into the materials list, and there are 3 stagecoach and horse sets available. The one I'm going to be doing is the fancy stagecoach and horse. There is the little slightly larger one, which is the pumpkin, or the Western stagecoach, which is more, has less detail. It doesn't have the scroll work. Paper. Paper I'm going to use is this, and it's Blue Fern Studios. But anyway, it's beautiful. Now in this pack, there's 10 sheets. They're double-sided, and they are very high quality. And Blue Fern Studios, I love their paper because they're like a vintagey, and the quality is just beautiful. So 10 sheets, they're double-sided. You get 1 of each sheet, which is perfect for this. If I was doing a mini album, I'd be picking up 2 sets. So, and the price is, if you were to buy 2 of these, it's the same as buying a regular paper pad. But you only need 1 for this. I'm going to set this off to the side. Other Blue Fern papers that are available is they have courtship, which gives you a lot of purples and greens, and then this is one of my favorite, timeless. It's very pretty. So there's a lot to choose from when it comes to Blue Fern, but with this project, if you already have paper that you like, use it. Glue. Now, I am using Art Glitter Designer glue, and it dries clear. There's no glitter in it. It's good for metal, paper, wood, a lot of different applications. For my flowers and vines and leaves, I'm using the Heartfelt Creations Classic Rose stamp, and that's an HCPC 3752. And you get all of these flower shapes, and you also get some leaves. And then of course the matching die is the Classic Rose, HCD 17110, and it's going to give you the flower cutouts and that same leaf. also I'm using is the Heartfelt Creations Classic Rose Vines, and this one in particular, and that's an HCPC 3753, and the matching die to that is an HCD1 7111. For my flowers, I am going to use, and I'm starting to carry the color box. This one's called Kismet, Kismet. And then the sunflower color, which is yellow. And I'm also going to be using the diamond stickles. And then I am going to be using prills. And this is lemon chiffon prill. And that's just for the center. For my leaf color and my vine, leafy vine color, I am going to use Mementos Olive Grove, Pistachio, and Pear Tart all together. I would be stamping the image with this. Now, Color Box has, and I'm trying to use up what I have already. I was experimenting with some of the Color Box greens, and to get a more vibrant green like this, I used 3 of their colors. And as you can see, if I put a flower on there, how vibrant that green is. So that's up to you. I will be using the more toned down colors in this project. If you like this more vibrant color, I stamped the image with evergreen. Now this is a moss green color, and then this one's called citrine. So those were the colors to achieve a more vibrant. I've been playing around with the colors of the new collection, that color box. So I wanted to show you that in case you're tired of using the same greens that I've been using. Perhaps you have been. I thought I'd show you something a little different there. Another ink color that I'm going to be using by Color Box is the burlap. And that looks really good for inking around the edges of this paper collection that I'm using. For covering my wheels, I'm going to be using these flatback pearls. However, you can use whatever you have on hand. So I'm going to need 4 of those, and then I'm going to need 6 of like a fancy style. How I achieved getting the gold up through here is, and I'm going to show you a sample on a piece of the MDF wood here. What I did was I went and I painted the top part of the scroll with the folk art white paint, and then once that dried, and it's real quick drying, I went with the gold leaf, and this is called Classic Gold, and that's what achieved the gold color at the top. For your horse colors, here are some different options for you. Now, with I used on this project where I did the pumpkin stagecoach with the Tranquil Gardens, I used a white and silver paint, and then I used stickles here. So the color of your horse is totally up to you. For this project with the fancy, I'm going to use brown and black. I've already painted mine. And I painted the stands of which they stand on black, and then the middle piece that goes between them brown. So that's the color I'll be using. So if you need to get brown or black craft paint, you'll want to do that, or whatever color you like. For shaping my flowers, you know, with this kit, you get a lot of different, you get your stylus tool, the nibs, a molding mat, and a piercing mat. I stepped up from the McGill flower shaping kit to the deluxe by Heartfelt Creations. And I'm not shaping these into roses. You can actually achieve this kind of a flower, really pretty and fluffy like that. So my stylus, where did it go? It's been off to the side. How this works is it's kind of magnetic, and I got stuff all over. You just kind of line it up, and it just kind of clips in and stays in. And here's your little piercing mat, and then you have a molding mat, of which goes on top after you've cleaned your tools, which I need to still do. And it stores away nice. I am using the Wink of Stella on my flowers and leaves in conjunction with my diamond stickles. You may want to use a hot glue gun for quick tacking down of your flowers. Also, what you're going to want is a craft knife, and you will want to have a fresh blade in here. And you might even want to set aside 2 blades. You'll also want a black ball tip pen, some scissors, you may even want to grab your paper cutter, and some paintbrushes if you're going to be painting the top. If you're going to be just painting the Stagecoach, not covering with paper, or you just want a natural look, you can go ahead and assemble them. If you're doing paper, you'll want to assemble it after you've used your pieces as pattern pieces. Let's get into these. On the back of the product cover sheet, you will see what your Stagecoach comes with. For example, I'm using the fancy. It says I have 2 of these, and I'm going to set these off to the side. I have 1 of these, and it shows exactly what it looks like. Here's this one. The one with the 2 slots is actually where we insert for the seat for the person driving the Stagecoach. So we have that. Now you will notice in your kit, and each one has the same, there is one that's larger than the other, and they are marked. One is marked top. This is an optional piece on top of your Stagecoach, and I'll show you an example with and without. The one that has DBS, that is the bottom of your piece, so top and bottom. And I'm going to show you an example here in a moment. You will have 4 wheels. They are motionless. They're just glued right onto the side of the Stagecoach. And depending on which kit, you may get some little extra pieces there. These 2 pieces that have the DBS logo on it, these go with your horses. Those are what your horses stand into. You will also find a shorter piece, and that piece is located right down here. It's part of the horses, so we're going to set that off to the side. And this is, like I said, this is the side. So if you're looking at the coach, you're putting it together. Depending on if you want your Stagecoach to be going this way with your horses off this side, you would be putting this on this side. And then this is your back. So that's completely up to you. In your kit, you will also have 2 of these. These are the little stepping plates that get glued down for stepping into the coach. And then, of course, this is what I said. This goes right on in there, and that's where the coachman sits. Let's go ahead and push all of our pieces to the side. We don't need this anymore. I'm painting them, my horses, and I've already have them painted. I did mine for this one using this paper, brown, and black for the mane. And you can do more detail like I did if you want. The 2 long ones are the rails, and I did those black. And the piece that holds them together, the centerpiece, I did brown. So let's start off by painting our pieces, and then we're just going to set these off to the side. The wheels are the last thing that get attached to our Stagecoach, so let's set these off to the side. We're going to start with, and you can set your these off to the side along with, if yours come with that extra pack of goodies, then you can set those off to the side. I'm going to start off with my coach, and I'm kind of looking at my coaches to see, it doesn't matter which way you go. but this is going to be my front. The front looking out, so it's front facing out. Okay, and then this one is the back facing out. Okay, just so that I know what I'm doing when I'm placing this on the paper to trace around. And here is the inside, back. And I'm just using pencil here, and this is the inside, front. So front, like that. Let's get some scratch paper and let's get our paint out, and we are going to paint just right up in here. So with this, you're going to want to, all you need is one coat, and I'm just going to pour some on here. All you need is one coat on each side, and I'm just going to make sure I get everything here. The reason why is because the gold shows up just a little bit better. Oop, I got a flake there. And once this dries, then I'm going to flip these over and get them again. And that's good enough. So like I said, once this is dry, flip it over and let's paint the back side. I've got front and back done. I'm just going to flip these around. Now with the liquid leaf, it's very runny and it's not a craft paint like you would find Americana, folk art, or whatever. You'll want to use this in a well-ventilated area. Now, one thing when you apply your paint down here, make sure that you're not gooping up in the slots. That might make it hard for you to slide in your pieces that connect to it. And I am getting off quite a bit of this, and you're just going to brush it. And you're going to do it just like we applied with the white paint. And I'm going to get up here as well, both sides. And then we can start cutting for our paper. I've got both sides of mine with the gold. And one thing is right after you're done using the liquid leaf, the gold, you'll definitely want to go clean your paintbrush out, or it will ruin your paintbrush for sure. Make sure that this is completely dry before grabbing your paper. So, in the collection I'm using, I'm going to be using this sheet. On this side, it looks like this, and on this side, it looks like that. And I think this is just gorgeous, so I want to use that. And I did say that you'll want to use a ballpoint pen, black. It's easier to see than the pencil, and pencil gets lead on the sides of your kit here, your wood pieces. So what we're first going to do is, let's trim off this piece. Now, in any of my tutorials, any trimmings or scrap pieces of paper set off to the side. You never know if I'm going to pull it back out to use it. So let's do that. The first piece is the front outside, and I want it facing me. And I'm going to come right up here to the corner. And because this will only allow so much, this is a very tight fit. First off, grab a couple pieces so I can show you. On using the Fancy, you can get all your pieces cut out for the outside pretty much with one piece if you maneuver these correctly. So I'm going to show you really quick. So you can see that these will fit. Let's start with the front out, and I'm bringing it right up here. Now we don't need to have this quite so far down because we have our gold to show. So I am going to bring that up to about, right where the top of this is, the corner piece, the top corner of that. I'm going to bring that up to the corner of my paper on both sides. Make sure that this is straight. And I think I got that pretty good. Okay, so we're looking at the front out, and all we're going to do is use our pen. Now, one thing is, now this can be tricky, is if you notice, this is going to come and fit right on in those notches. We don't want to follow inside the notches for the outside. We want that to be covered. So I'm going to line this back up, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to kind of draw a line there with my pen. And then I'm going to come back. Now remember, be careful with your pen because you can't erase your pen mark, but we can cover it up with something. So, and we can trim. It's easier just to go around and not draw that little invisible line or that little line. Go ahead. That may be easiest. And then we can just stick it on our paper cutter. Now, when we stick this on our paper cutter, one thing is we are going to cut on the inside of that black line. So when I cut, it's going to be on the inside of the black line. So first thing I'm going to do is, you can do it by hand, but I like a straight line. So I'm going to stick this on my paper cutter and cut down to here, and then I'm going to cut up this way to release this. So let's do that. And I'll show you what mine looks like. This is what you should have so far. And I'm going to ink around my edges, and I'm using the color box burlap. And that complements this paper really nicely. So now you want to get it the same as for the other side, and you can use this for a template for what you're doing there. And all you need to do is place this down anywhere you'd like. It won't fit back up in here. I'm just going to line this up right down here, and I'm going to draw around. And then I'm going to cut this out, and I'll ink around the edges of this as well. So let's do that. Okay, so we're looking at the front out, and let's find the back out. Any one of these will work. Just figure out which one you're going to do for front or back and place it down. Now this is where it was helpful just to use this as a pattern, because now you got the same. One thing is once we do cut out the windows and all that, what you can do is go back if you have any overhang, and you can trim it up with your craft knife. And now is where our craft knife comes into play. So set one of these off to the side. I'm just going to bring this right on down like this. Back behind. I'm looking front out. I have this placed back behind. And I'm going to get my cutting mat. Making sure I'm even everywhere, which I am. And I'm going to place that down. I'm now going to use my pen to draw around. Whoops. Now, one thing you are going to have to do is cut out for that notch, because that's where our little step goes. So, and I'm going to keep this down. And I'm going to do one piece at a time. So now with my craft knife, and I do need to put a fresh blade, I am going to carefully cut these out. And then I'm going to ink around the edges. And I'll show you what mine looks like. I've got mine cut out, and you are definitely going to want to keep this. Keep your pieces, because this is for our door, because The Stagecoach doesn't come with a door. We're going to make one though. So set those off to the side. And now you see how that's going to look. Okay, for now, let's just set this right off to the side. Let's grab the piece that says back out. And we're going to do the same thing we just did. Lining that up, make sure it's even on the sides and the bottom. We're going to use our pen, trace around, and then we're going to cut it out. Okay, looking at back out, I'm just going to place this, make sure it looks good. And I'm going to set this off to the side. Let's go ahead and cut for the side pieces. And we are pretty much going to do the same thing here. Trace around. And I'm just going to cut this on my paper cutter. We're going to also mark these. And this is the side facing out. And this is the inside. We're working on the outside right now. So let's go ahead and put these up like that. And you'll want to ink around your edges. So what we're going to do now is this is going to be a complete covering, but we do have to cut out for those notches in order for the seat to fit. So with that, I'm going to place that back behind. Make sure I am squared up there. And again, with my pen, I'm just going to use it to get the best shape there. And now all I have to do is lay this down, and I'm going to cut this out with my craft knife. Okay, I've got mine cut out. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that this is going to be able to slip in there. And you may have to widen your holes, which I do. One way to do that is to take your piece here and see where you need to widen it. Like I have widened it through here by slicing a little bit. And now I know that it's this edge that I actually need to come over just a little bit. To make sure that that can fit through, and now I do. So I'm going to do that over here, and it's on the side as well. Okay. And now I'm fitting in there. And that's a good fit. Let's set this one off to the side. And we're going to grab this one. I'm going to grab my paper so I have at least a rose that's going to show up down there. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did before in drawing around it. Okay, let's cut it out. So check to make sure you are going to fit. If you need to do some trimming, go ahead and flip it over and do that. Mine is fitting. I'm going to place this right back behind, and I'm going to do the same thing I've done before. Check to make sure you are going to fit, and I have a good fit. Now I'm going to ink around the edges. Okay, let's mark this. This is the outside, inside. For the inside, I wanted a totally different color, contrasting color there, and I'm going to choose this one. On the back side, it looks like this. Let's trim off this trim piece. Okay, all we're going to do now is we are going to position our pieces on here. This is a good place where you can use a pencil because it's not going to get on the wood if we use these. And I'm just going to place my pieces here. And then what we can do, because this is for the, now we're cutting for the inside. If you notice, for the outside, we did not cut these notches out. We will be doing that, but for now, we're just going to cut and get our piece shapes out. So let's go ahead and just trace around these and cut them out. Okay, for this piece here, the one where we have the slots, and this is the outside, okay, this piece is actually going to slide in this way. So we don't need to cut out for these, but what we do need to do is cut so the notches are clear. So I did go through and make my line, so now I'm going to cut out for those notches. So this is what your piece should look like if you were to place it down to the inside of this. Your notches are clear. Make sure that you trim, and we're going to do that here in just a moment. You're just making sure you are fitting here to here, and I do have a little bit of trimming. Now once I do that, make sure you got the inside there. We're going to just glue that right on down to that. So let's do that. Okay, I've got mine glued down. Now you can flip that over, and if you have any overhang, you can just run your knife along that edge. Okay, this one is ready to be placed on the outside. So we're going to do that. Making sure you get glue around the notch area of the paper back here so it doesn't buckle on you. And we're going to place that. Okay. Once you've done that, now you can flip it over. If you see that you have overhang, you can just trim that right on off. If you had any trimming, go ahead and hit the edges around here with your burlap or whatever color you're using. We want to make sure that we get some of the white core of the paper toned down a little. Let's grab and take a look at our next piece, which is this one. This is the outside. So just throw that. This would be the inside. And you will want to make sure that you cut so that you have your tabs showing there. Once you have it squared up, this is where you are going to trace, and we're going to cut that out. I'm looking at the inside, and now after I cut that out, I'm going to apply glue and glue that down. If you'd rather use this side, you can, but I'm going to keep it all the same in there. Once you have that glued down, this is where you can flip it over and trim anything that you need. I would wait until your glue is dry before doing that. As you can see, I have a little bit of overhang here, so I'm going to get at that as soon as my glue dries. Let's flip that over. We're looking at the outside, and now I'm going to glue that down. Now you can flip it over. If you need to trim off anything, go ahead. If not, let's ink around our edges really good and set that aside. Okay, I have the front facing out. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to flip it over, so I'm now looking at inside of the front. This is going to place just like we did the others now, making sure you're even, and we're going to trace out the windows and the door and cut that out. You're also going to cut out for the notches. Now when trimming this, you're going to trim it right across the bottom so that when this sits here on the inside, you're just going to have it, because your things are going to be over here, have it so where you have the bottom part where the step falls in, but you're not going to, you're going to have it so that it's placed so that your notches are free and clear. And so that you understand, here is the inside of the front, here is the bottom, and you just kind of slide those in there so that you can see. So once that's there, you've got to be able to fit and not be on those get in the way of those notches right there. I think you can see, so that it's flush on the bottom. Okay. So one thing I still have yet to do is to cut out for these. And all I'm going to do is make sure those notches, I have this bottom part of the paper is right at the bottom of there, and I'm even there. Okay, and I'm going to re-look when I do that, and I have just enough room to do that because the notches are right in there, and you can even feel it with your finger. So now I had made my marks, I just want to make sure that I'm right on with that. And now I'm going to trim for that. And I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, see how mine is notched? Because there's going to be if you're going to do the top piece, that is. I'm not doing the top piece, but I do have a piece of trim that's going to go up there. So anyway, you will want to place your paper at the bottom, right there, just at the top where the notch meets. And right there, make sure you are even side to side. Your windows are lined up, and that your notches are cleared if you're using the top piece, and which I'm not, but I wanted to do that anyway, and I'll just cover that up with a trim piece. But you have your choice, top or not. Once you have that and you inked around the edges, and we are in the inside front, you're going to glue this down. And remember, don't glue it down so far that you're going to be covering that. It should be sitting right at the top there of it, and your sides should be even. So let's go ahead and glue that down. I turned mine over and I cleaned up around the edges. Now all I have to do is place this down and find my front out. And I'm going to glue that down now. So let's do that. Okay, once this is dry, your glue anyway underneath, I can go back and trim this up. Remember, don't clip out your notches because this is the front, and our notches are going to slide in right there and be covered. But as far as like the window and stuff, if you have a little overhang, that's where I'm going to be trimming up right inside those windows. So I did a complete no-no and busted this right off. What I was doing was putting my arm down and I broke this piece off. So I'm going to save this and I'll glue that back on when I'm all done here. So this is what you should have. We're going to move on over to this side, and we're going to do exactly the same thing we did for this. Once you've cut, let's glue this right on down. I've got mine down there, and I'm going to glue this down now to the front. Once your glue dries, if you need to flip it over and trim up any excess along there, go ahead. Remember, do not cut out your notches. Now, if you are wanting to put your top in, you will also, this is the bottom of the top, you'll want to cut paper to fit on both sides. Now, you have an option, either in or out. I left on this one the lid out, so if I want to put a fake plant in here, I could, or a little flameless candle. It's easier to get in and out, and you can get a larger flameless in there. I also made little seats in there, which are cute on this one. Okay, so with the lid on, once it's glued into place, it does not come off, and this one has the lid on. This one, I'm able to slide in a small little tea light in there, as you can see. So that's an option for you. I am leaving the top off. Okay, for the floor, I decided I wanted to use this really pretty red color. And the DBS is face down. And all I'm going to do is trace around. And you will not cut for the notches. So I'm just going to make a rectangle and cut that. Okay, make sure your piece fits and let's glue that down. Okay, I'm not doing anything to the bottom of this. Last piece is where the coachman would sit. And I am going to do both sides of this. I'm going to use the same color that I used inside the coach walls. And I'm just going to trace around. We will not be cutting out for the notches because the notches got to go inside. So there's one, and then I'm going to trace for this one. And I'm going, once I cut this out, I'm going to get me a cup of coffee. I need some go-go juice, guys. It's coffee time. Okay, you should have from where you cut out your doors for the outside, 2 of these. All I'm going to do is cut off that notch. I'm actually going to run this on the paper cutter to make sure that's straight. If you have any black showing, trim that off. Okay, fold them in half. Grab 2 of your little windows that you cut out for the inside, or if you want to do the outside, but I'm using what's on the inside because that's where it hinges on to. And we're going to stick those off to the side. That's what we're going to be working with as soon as we get this assembled. Let's assemble our horses. Almost forgot your steps. Now you can paint these if you want, or you can use your pattern paper. For me, I'm going to use my pattern paper, and I believe that these little window cutouts that we did, or grab one of these, all we're going to do is trace it out. So I've got one there, and I'm going to trace out this, and I'm going to cut that out and glue it down like we've been doing. Got mine. Okay, set all our pieces up. Let's grab our horses. This is very simple. So matters not which way you go. Okay. You're going to want to put a piece of scratch paper underneath. I've got one right here. And all you're going to do is add glue to the notch here. You're going to place it inside the horse. Let that sit. Okay, you have where the DBS is up actually on this one. And all I'm going to do is put some glue on the inside of this notch. There's 4 of them. You'll wipe up any glue that you get. You can put it on the hoof of the horses if you want to. Whoops. Now there's one way that the horses will fit nicely and slip right in there. And I'll clean that up in a minute. I'm just going to grab my horses just like this. And I'm going to stick the back piece in first. And you'll know because it's only going to go down so far when you hit the paper or whatever's underneath yours. Okay, now I'm just going to push the rest of the hoofs down in there. And it's just going to slide in. Now one way I found to get some of this glue up is just to use a piece of cardstock and get it out that way. Wipe it up that way in between. So you'll want to wipe up that glue down there. And you know that you've got it in the right place when your hoofs are flush with the bottom. You don't want to push it way through so where it is outside the bottom. And I'm just going to clean this up a little bit here. Any glue that squirted out. And then all I'm going to do is set this off to the side. Okay, place your piece so the outside of one of your sides is facing down. Let's grab a side piece here. Actually, let's grab the bottom. I think that's going to be much easier. The bottom has the paper, DBS is down, and you're just going to slide this into the notch. However, you're going to need to add glue. If it's hard to get it down in the notch, you may have to run your knife to get some of that paper off the notch. Okay, whoops, I don't need it on the bottom. Just the top there. I'm just going to line up my notches. Now, I've got mine in. It looks like I'm flush, and I am, as you can see. Now, I have some glue that squirted out. This is a great time for me to run a piece of cardstock along there to clean that up. Get that off. Just run it right like that. And then I'm going to flip it back. Okay. Grab one of your sides. It doesn't matter which one, actually, unless you have a preference. So, anyway, I'm just going to add glue, and I'm going to make sure I get glue in that notch pretty good on the paper. And then a little here. And I'm going to place this down in those notches. And it's easy. Remember, if you need to trim, then trim. And it may take you a moment. Mine's in. Yep. Whoops, mine's in. And I'm going to use this to wipe up any glue that squirted out. Okay. I'm going to grab my other side. But before I do that, this is the side that has it's easier to put this in now than later. So I'm going to squirt some glue in there. Make sure I get in the notches area. And I'll clean up any residue. Move this over. And slide that in. There. I don't have to do any trimming. Okay. You just don't want to push through the back side. So I've got mine in there. Now it's time to add glue. And I'm going to put it right inside on the paper that's showing. And then I have the notch here. And I'm going to drag this over near me so I can see what I'm doing. And I have to lift it because of the thing there. And I'm just going to slide that right into place. Now you can squirt a little bit of glue down in there if you want, and over here at the bottom. And you can wipe up the excess. This needs to come down now, this part here, to be even with down here. And just make sure you're pushed in. And I am. And I'm going to get the glue out from in there. Glue in here for my notches. Down under here. Right here. And here. Now, if you are using a top, you are going to put the top on first. You'll slide the top piece in now, and then this piece will be last to go on. So I'm just going to put this right on there. Slide that on there. And they'll fit right in like a puzzle piece. I'm getting the outside first, like so. And there we have it. There, together. I'm going to run some paper down here to wipe up any glue. And I'm definitely have to let this dry now. So let's give it about 5-10 minutes to dry. And we're going to install this piece now. Now this piece, it just sits right like this, right down at the bottom. It slips right in there, so you just need to add a little glue right there. And just snap it in there. And it will take a moment for that because it's just there, sitting there. Originally I wasn't even going to include that piece, this piece, but I decided to do it. That little step thing would be cute. Okay, I'm going to let that about 5-10 minutes dry and see if it is ready for the rest. Alright, remember these pieces that I said set off to the side? They are our doors. Let's get them out. So the crease is at the top, the opening at the bottom. And what we're going to do is, for instance, the door, I'm going to lay this on its side. The door is going to open out this way. So what you are going to want to do is slide that, leaving yourself, you're going to glue this in. Let's do this. And I'm going to add some glue here. And I'm looking at the inside. Here's that. And I'm just going to place it just like that, as even as I can in the middle. Okay, so when you close it, you're going to see that. And on the back is the matching color that matches the inside. Okay, I'm going to apply my glue now. Whoops, I'm all thumbs. And I'm just going to press that down. Okay, so there's that. Same thing. I'm going to add some glue here, leaving myself some room here, and you can trim that down even more once we get this all done, but I don't think you'll need to. Make sure I get that really good. And press it down. Okay. The door. So all you're going to do is kind of bend this forward. Now if you want to use score tape, you can. I am just going to use my glue. Should be fine. All I'm going to do is bring this down to the bottom of the step, put my hand in there, make sure it's down on that step and it can still open, and close. And I'm going to push that down with my fingers. And I'm going to do it on this side as well. Add my glue. And place my door. So now your door, once it's dry, should go in and out. Let's let that dry. Now, one of the trim pieces are this, off this paper collection. And all I'm going to do is bring the corner of this up to the corner of the piece here. And I'm going to use a pencil for this. But I'm just going to make a mark with my pencil and I'm going to trim. So once you have that, let's apply glue. And this is the border that goes on the front of your Stagecoach. In your paper pack, if you're using the same as mine anyway, on the back of this, let's trim off this blue trim piece. Now all we're going to do is trim this right down the middle. Now once you have that, I cut mine a little bit off. That's okay. It fits perfectly, so if you need to trim yours, do so. It just fits right down at the bottom. So I'm going to trim this to fit and glue that down. Okay, this is what I have so far. Let's flip it over. And with the other piece, we're going to do the same thing as we are going to trim to fit down at the bottom. And then we're going to glue that down. In your paper pack, if you're using the same as me, you should have this print. And on the back is this. I'm going to just cut a piece right off here. That is, let's say, 3/4 of an inch. So let's place it down at the top. Let's make a mark where we need to trim. And then we're going to glue that down. Just like that. Okay? Now, this is where your options come in for the wheels. I'm going to leave mine the natural wood color. And this is where you're going to have to be patient as far as waiting for these to dry. Now you have options. You can paint these white, black, whatever you like. Also available in my store are the acrylic wheels. Unfortunately, we can't swap out acrylic for these. These do come in the kits. So when placing these, to try and keep your coach from being cockeyed, you're going to place your first one here. And all I'm going to do is bring the wheel to where the back of the little inside there, right here, is about flush with the back of the coach. The bottom is flush with the bottom. And that way, it's easier to get these on. So when you do the other side. So let's flip this over, and we're going to do the same thing with the back. And one thing you might want to do is add some glue up where it's going to hit the paper. That's going to help reinforce those wheels. So, even with the back here and down here. And I do want to add some glue underneath the wheel to give it more strength. Put that right back where it was. There we go. And then I'm going to now look back behind, make sure if I have some glue back there. I'm just going to make sure I have a hold of it so it doesn't pop off on me. And then I'm going to prop someone up there, I think, so it can glue and hold. Okay, so I don't keep knocking it around. Let's do the front. The front, I'm going to do the same, bringing it to the side and at the bottom. And that last wheel, I'm going to wait until these are completely attached before I do that last wheel, in case I need to maneuver it to level it out. So I'm going to give this about 10 minutes. Okay, my wheels are glued down except for the one. And I'm going to add my glue. And this is where I'm going to try and place this the same way I did the others. Now, while you have a hold of it, lay it down so that it's flush and that you're not tippy like this. And then once you find where that needs to be to sit level, mine's at that, Then just tip it up and let it glue down. Okay, go ahead and stamp 4 sets of the vine off the classic rose vine stamp. And you're going to die cut them out, and then we're going to color them, ink them in with our greens. I've got all mine colored, and you might want to get some of the back of yours too. Let's apply our Wink of Stella to all of it. Grab one of your vines, and where the stem is there, we're going to put a little bit. And let's see, right behind here, we need some. How this is going to fit, and I'm going to grab this other one that doesn't have the glue on it, is the stem is going to tuck back behind the window. This leaf is going to come out and glue like that. And these right here are going to come forward over around. And then this is going to come down like so. So let's glue that down. Get that like that. Push this around. And this right here. So you're just gonna kind of make it do as you want it to do there. Let's grab another one. Now on this one, I'm gonna tuck the stem right inside there, right in that little hole, and then it's gonna come down like that. So I'm gonna apply my glue to everything. Before we flip this over, we're going to allow these to completely dry. We're going to do the same exact thing over here to that hole and glued down right like that. With this one, it glues back underneath the window. This goes up. And we're just going to twist it like so. So let's start here. And you can maneuver these any way that you would like. I'm just placing mine, getting creative is all. So just kind of twist them around. And for up here, I think I will snip right there so I can get some leaf around that corner like that. So just twist it and bend it until you like how it looks. Grab 4 flat back pearls, and I have these in my stash, and I'm just going to glue these right on top there. If you don't have these, you don't have to go and buy extra. Any flat back pearls that you have in your stash will look nice. So let's glue those down. Okay, so I'm putting 3 flat back pearls across the top trim. And you'll be doing this to the back side as well. And I'll be flipping this over to get to the back as soon as these dry. Alright, this is the back or the front or whichever way. Both of mine are kind of the same. So I'm going to let this all dry, and now we're going to get into our flowers. Okay, so I have stamped a bunch of flowers onto some white cardstock, and I used the Kismet color. Sometimes it's easier to color on before you do anything. And I'm going to blot off some of this. And I'm just going to, now I won't be using all of these, I just did because I have some other projects, but I'm just going to go in the middle of all of those. And then I'm going to lightly brush outward on these. And then I'm going to just go darker on the edges a little. So there will be a little bit of white showing on the flower, but once we assemble it, it'll look really nice. So I'm going to do this with mine, and then I'm going to die cut it out, and then I can ink around the edges of where any white cardstock shows. So let's prepare some flowers. Okay, you will want to die cut also from the classic rose, the little leaf that goes, and you'll need 2 of these. Okay, first things first, let's apply our Wink of Stella to our 2 leaves. So let's go ahead and glue one down at the top here, and then on the other side we're going to do the same. Let's glue one down right like that. So let's do that. Put one down this way and one down right there. Let's go ahead and create a flower. Don't worry about the stickles yet. You can add the stickles last. And you can also add your pearls now if you'd like, or last once you get it placed. I'm going to assemble using a couple of the larger and one of the size down. Added my Wink of Stella, and I have let that completely dry. Sometimes with shaping flowers, it's a little bit easier to go ahead and spritz them with some water. And then all I'm going to do here is just kind of go around the edges like so, and they'll kind of crinkle up on you. And I'm just using a smaller tip on this. And then I'm going to push it over and roll the bigger ball in the middle. And I'm going to do the same with all of these. I'll wait for that water to completely dry, the dampened water on there. I'm going to use my hot glue gun, and I'm just going to layer these in, pushing down in the center. So to add the pearls, I just add glue to the center there. And I sprinkle in some of my pearls. And then I can dump off any excess there. Sorry for the noise in the background. My husband has company right now. Okay, so I am going to place this flower, and I will get the stickles on after a bit. And I'm going to place that flower right there. I created another flower already to show you the effects with the stickles on it. And I'm just going to layer that right here. I'm going to create 2 smaller flowers with the smaller petals. I'm going to take one of those flowers, add some glue to that, and stick it right here. I've got another small one, and I'm going to stick that right here. I'm going to glue another flower right up here. I made a smaller one, and I made it slightly darker, and I'm just going to stick that right there. One more that's darker, and I'm just going to slide that right there, kind of at an angle. Okay, I'm going to let my pearls dry, and then what I'm going to do, is I got some falling out, is flip this over, and I'm pretty much going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's do that. I'm going to attach the back side really quick. Let's get to our stickles. Now with stickles, all I'm going to do is put some on my leaves like so. Just kind of go around on it. Make sure I get it there. And I'm going to apply it to all of my leaves. And then you can use a brush or you can use your fingers, but I'm just going to mat it down a little. Spread it out. And I'm going to do that with all of them. I've applied all my stickles. And this is completely optional, adding inside curtains. Now, if you have your lid on, you're going to apply glue to the back of a piece and just stick your fingers through the door and glue that down. So I've got 4 pieces here, and that's all I'm going to do. Again, it's a little bit harder if you do have your lid on. However, you just put your fingers to the door and kind of feel around back there, tap it down, and it's in. So let's apply our curtains if that's what you would like to do. While my curtains are being glued and drying, I'm going to add stickles to the mane of my horse and to his tail. I'm going to do it on this side. I've got my diamond stickles on there, and it's going to need to dry. Now, one thing more that you can do is add reins to your horse to finish it off. Now, in the fancy Stagecoach, you have some extra pieces. You can go ahead and attach these any way you would like. I'm not going to add them to mine. But all in all, your coach is finished. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. One thing you can do other than a fake plant or a flameless candle is stick a small little mini album in there, a small little one, a brag book, and you can store it in there. That would be really cute. I did this out of different paper, but this is something I've had on my desk where I'm going to slide stuff in, but this is what I'm talking about. You can definitely slide a book in there. Don't store it too. Stay tuned for my next tutorial where I'll be doing a mini album with some newer Heartfelt Creations paper. Happy crafting, everybody!